In this video, I'm going to share with you the 3 things you must know before you raise your vibration. If I would have known these about 4 or 5 years ago, everything would have been so much easier. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you the 3 things you must know before you raise your vibration. And these are things that would have made my life so much easier years ago, and especially to do with understanding what to look out for, what will happen for most people as they raise their vibration, and how you can in a way bypass it so that you don't experience the negative side effects of it. Because believe it or not, for many people, raising the vibration and their vibration may have the negative side effects. Now, before we get into it, let me share with you a little bit. If I show that chart of consciousness that I share in a lot of my videos, that chart of consciousness will show shame, fear, guilt, anger, then it'll eventually show that of neutrality, then reasoning, then love. These are all different states of consciousness that we fluctuate between. And in life in general, there's a certain level of consciousness we will remain at until we do some inner work. And then once we do that inner work, we can then move up to a new level. And the part that's important to understand about this process is as you raise up the vibration, what will happen is you will then experience people, you will then experience opportunities, you will then experience environments that are equal to that shift you've made within yourself. So if before you were in shame, fear, and anger, you're going to attract people to you that will reflect that shame, fear, and anger back to you. People that maybe make you mad, make you angry, make you feel guilty. You may also find yourself in environments that are representative of that energy. Maybe home environments, work environments that are representative of that energy. However, once you start to raise your vibration, over time, there will be sometimes a little bit of a buffer time. But as you begin to do it, the old patterns will begin to fall away. I know when I raised my vibration, back in 2012 was when the process really began for me. Old things began to fall out of my life. And it happened very naturally. And some of it I didn't understand why it was happening so fast. But it happened because it no longer resonated with me. I let go of some of the stories I had about the way that people treated me. And as I let go of those stories, I then experienced a new reality that was conductive of a new version of myself. So to raise up this scale, understand also, this is a natural part of who we are as spiritual beings. We came to earth to remember who we are and to also go through this shift in consciousness. The shift in consciousness is of a raising of vibration. And right now on the planet, billions of people are going through some version of this raise in vibration at different levels, at different lengths, at different speeds, but nonetheless, it's something that's happening at a mass level right now. Most likely, if you're watching this video, you're one of the first people to really make a jump into a higher state of consciousness, because then you can help other people around you go through something similar. Because as time goes on, more and more people will be going through that. A level of spiritual awakening. So understand as well for this process, this isn't about acquiring a new perspective. This is about understanding you naturally are a high vibrational being. You've just been born into a reality where you've forgotten who you are, and you've learned and imitated that of the patterns around you, your parents, your environment, the social conditioning, and therefore you've got these layers that aren't you. So raising your vibration is about letting go of those layers. Letting go of those limiting beliefs that are no longer you. And as you begin to let go of those layers, you naturally raise your vibration. The best analogy you can think of for this that I learned was from Abraham Hicks. It was that of a bob on the ocean. If you took a bob on the ocean, you just see it's just naturally bobbing on the top. But if you hold it down and you give it resistance, it will stay under the water. But to move it back up, you don't have to carry it back up. You just have to remove your hand over it, and it naturally floats back up. When you let go of resistance, when you let go of the masks that you've been taught to wear based on social conditioning and beliefs of your environment growing up, you let those go, you will naturally begin to raise up. Your vibration will raise, you will begin to feel better. And it's not so much that you have to do, it's more that of an undoing, more of an unraveling of what you are not. That's why awakening is more about taking back the veil, taking back the The part of you that's the illusion, the part of you that's not even real, the part of you that's a mask, it's a persona. Persona literally means mask. And you just being who you really are. Now what I'm going to be sharing with you today is I wrote it on my handy dandy notebook, which in this case is an iPad. And I'm going to be sharing with you the 3 things you must do. Now, first thing that you must do or know is that the key to this process is not the piling on, but it's the letting go. And sometimes this can be painful because you may let go of people that you identified with your whole entire life that may bring your vibration down. And as you raise your vibration, you may let go of both activities that don't serve you, that maybe you did your whole entire life. I know for me, I used to smoke weed back in 2012, and I identified with it for about a year or 2. But then I raised my vibration, and I was wondering to myself, why doesn't this make me feel the way that it used to? Why do I relate to it in a different way? I learned how to observe my thoughts, and as I started to meditate, I started to feel higher vibration. Then I would smoke, it would actually bring me down. Why is that? Well, if you look to that scale of consciousness that I showed you, weed resonates at about 350, which is acceptance, which is also makes sense because when you smoke, you're just accepting the moment to be. So many people that do smoke, it may make them not feel shame, fear, guilt, and the lower emotions. It may raise them up, but once it wears off, it may also bring them back into those lower states, and then you feel like you need it. That's how I felt. I felt like I needed weed in order to feel good. Also, it helped to counteract because I was taking Adderall at the time, which is the prescription drug they give for people that have what is called ADHD. So the side effects of ADHD, you don't eat very much, you don't sleep very much. And what counteracts that? Well, weed does the opposite of that. It helps you sleep and it helps you eat. So I would do Adderall during the day at work, and at nighttime I'd come home and I'd be able to relax and eat and all that stuff. However, I realized that it was a crutch, it was something I needed. So once I started to raise my vibration through meditation, I realized that the weed no longer served me. That's just my own personal experience with it. I'm not saying weed is bad by any means. Weed has its place. I think weed resonates at a level that many people may enjoy. Or many people it may help them medicinally. However, for me, I was being honest with myself, I was abusing it. I was using it more often than I needed to be. So as I started to raise my vibration, I started to let go. And as I let go of doing the activity of weed, what came along with that? Well, that meant that I wasn't necessarily doing that with other people that I used to do that with. Which in a way was kind of sad. Because these were people that I identified with my whole entire life, and I still love them to death. However, I just recognized that I can't do that because it's not conducive to my energy anymore. But when you raise your vibration, something that you don't always think of is that it may include letting go of being around people that you used to be around your whole entire life. And it's being aware that when you do that, you make room for a higher vibrational state of consciousness. It really is like osmosis when you're around different people. It's not just that you absorb you just think in similar thoughts, neurons in the brain fire in a similar way. It's an energetic thing as well. You literally become the 5 people you're around the most. So as you begin to raise your vibration may also make people feel uncomfortable that used to feel comfortable around you. These are things you don't know when you're just intending to raise your vibration. But it's something that you may want to be understanding of, because that may happen. It may happen to where then people relate to you in a new way, and then you decide that you may have to let some of that go. Maybe not let it go forever, but maybe let go how often you are around it. You are engaging with those people or those activities or people doing those activities. I find that when I go and I'm around people that smoke, sometimes it makes me feel scatterbrained. Maybe it's my own limiting belief, but I find that there's like almost like an empathic feeling of similar whatever the other person's feeling. It does influence me, even if I'm like, no, I'm more willpower than that. It's like it's still at micro level, I think, does influence. So I choose to not necessarily be around it. No hard feelings, it's just the way that it is. So for raising your vibration, it's about letting go. And sometimes the letting go can be painful, The letting go can be something that you don't really think of because you don't realize it may involve you letting go of being around people that you've been around for a very long time. Now, the key to that, though, is trusting that process. I promise you that raising your vibration, it's worth it. It is worth it. And eventually, here's the thing. Those people may come around. I've had many people that have come around and then raised their own vibration. And then now it resonates at a deeper level. But you just have to be honest with yourself. And sometimes you can bring people with you. Like, people are open and they come with you. But many times you'll find that there may be some resistance there, because then it's just a different level of consciousness. Not level like, oh, I'm better than you, but it's just a different state. So it's something that you don't really learn that much when he talks about raising your vibration. Now, the second thing you must know before you raise your vibration is that people may judge you. People may judge you. Especially because you may have been acting your whole entire life as one way, and all of a sudden, you're coming out with this new mentality, this new perspective of being spiritual, law of attraction, or all of these different metaphysical ideas that you're excited about. You may be excited to share them with other people. And then other people say, what happened? I know when I went through my awakening, people were like, I was always the guy that was like down to smoke, down to party. And then all of a sudden, I'm meditating, doing mantras. I'm doing things that never fit into the way that they saw me. And then certain people in my family thought maybe he's doing drugs. I wasn't at all. It was actually the opposite of that. I wasn't doing anything at all. I was just meditating. But how else do you explain somebody that all of a sudden wants to meditate? Somebody that all of a sudden is into mantras and has never been into mantras before. Somebody that desires completely changes and all of a sudden read all these different books. There isn't really a way to explain it. So because of that, though, there may be a certain level of judgment. And I felt, for a long time, I felt kind of lonely and sad because of that. I felt lonely and sad because I felt like people didn't get me. I felt like not only did people not get me, but I felt kind of alone and like almost resistant to them. I was like, they don't get it. They're asleep. They'll come around. But for a long time, I just kind of chilled. That when I went through my spiritual awakening, I lived in this house that was it was in Sloan, Nevada, which is in Las Vegas, but it's like off the outskirts. And I lived kind of in the middle of nowhere, which is really cool, actually. So it was like a 2-mile drive to gas stations and stuff, but there was no neighbors really. When I went through my awakening, I remember I was at that house a lot, meditating, laying in the sun. I was really tan. And friends didn't come over as much. I felt like some people in my family didn't get me. Some people did, but yeah, for a while I felt kind of lonely. And I felt like people were judging me. But at the same time, I realized that what I had to do was let go of the belief that people would judge me. Because then I developed this thing I carried around. It's like, people don't get me. People are asleep. And then guess what? I met more and more people that reflected that back to me. The moment I let go of that rule, that belief that people don't get me and people are asleep and they're not at the same level of consciousness, the moment I let all that go, I started to meet people that were in a similar vibration. And that's an ego. That's called the spiritual ego as well. And sometimes we become identified with that spiritual ego. Aaron becomes identified with that spiritual ego. When I talk in third person, it makes it sound much more egotistical, but I think it's funny. The third thing, when it comes to raising your vibration, that you must know, is that parts of it may feel uncomfortable. Parts of it may feel uncomfortable. And remember, something that feels uncomfortable means it's not familiar. It's unknown territory you may be stepping into. When you start to feel love, you may be looking for ways to sabotage yourself. You may find yourself in a relationship once you start doing the inner work. And maybe you've always experienced a relationship where somebody treated you less than good. Then what happens is you do the inner work on yourself, and then you're in a relationship where someone actually loves you and accepts you for who you are, and maybe somebody that wouldn't cheat on you. But somebody else cheated on you in the past, so you're always fearful of that. But now you learn to let that fear go. Do you see? So this is an example that you can begin to let go of. These old patterns, these old beliefs, this old unfamiliar territory. You may be like, can somebody really just love me for me? You may be like, am I really just good enough for this? And it may be unfamiliar for you to accept that other people may also feel that way about you, or that you feel that way about you. But understand, it's just not familiar. But you can let it be familiar. You can allow it to be, because no, it's a part of the process. Reality can really be that good. I remember I was walking around my room in 2012 after I went through my awakening, and I let go of weed, I let go of a lot of things that weren't serving me. Now I walked around my room and I remember thinking to myself, is this feeling gonna go away? Because it felt so good. And it never did go away. It just became my natural state. However, of course it still fluctuates. I'm not saying I'm enlightened or anything, but it still fluctuates. But what I found is it just became so normal, so natural that now it's not as crazy exciting as it was in 2012 because it was so new. Now it's just a part of the way reality is. But reality can be that good. And you may go through a period of time of when it was unfamiliar to where now it becomes more familiar. You may have an urge to do things you've never done before. You may have an urge to go travel. You may have an urge to be around certain type of people. You may have an urge to do yoga. You may have an urge, understand the activities you do will be equal to that level of vibration. So you may have an urge to do these things, but at first they may be a little bit fearful. But understand that once you do it, it will become more and more familiar. So it's about stepping into the unknown and knowing that it is who you prefer to be. And the more you allow that to happen, that integration to happen, is the more your life will change. So understand that for this process of raising your vibration, the key is knowing it's about letting go, and that some of that may include letting go of what was familiar for so long. And when you let go of what's familiar, you leave room for a new level of consciousness, new level of people, new level of activities to come in. It's not about you acquiring a new perspective, it's about just letting go. You let go of what's not you, you will just naturally raise your vibration because it's who you are. Understand that people may judge you, people may not understand you. But have a warrior-like attitude. Not like a warrior like you're going to fight them or you're going to prove them wrong. Because that was me for a while. I was like, I'm going to prove people wrong, show people. Instead, just be in your own energy. Just believe it yourself. Know it for yourself. And eventually, now I have people coming around, friends, family, everyone. It's like, whoa, Aaron, what Aaron's doing is really cool. I want to learn more. But I don't have to sell it. I'm not like, oh, look, this spiritual awakening stuff's so cool. So the more you let go of all of this, the more you then step into the uncomfortableness, is the more your life will begin to transform. So if you want to raise your vibrational set point, I have a free guided meditation. You can read the comments to see what's possible on that. It'll be in the top of the description box below. Listen to it for 21 days. I think it will change your life. I get so many comments and messages and DMs from people that say it's changed their life, that meditation itself. Listen for 21 days. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like it if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already, hit a little notification gear so you can see the daily vids that I do. Other than that, as always, peace, much love, and namaste.